This is the future of commerce and consumption session. E commerce, they said, was the future only a few years ago. Today it is the present. Yet, brick and mortar retail thrives both in large modern formats and in the neighborhood Kirana avatar. What does the future hold for commerce and consumption? Before we get into a panel discussion on this subject in the second half of the day, we have with us a speaker to set the tone for the topic and help us understand what will change in the way people buy and consume and what won't. Our speaker today is none other than Mr. Parag Kulkarni, the managing director of A.O.Smith India Water Products Private Limited, overseeing its India and SAARC region operations. He focuses on innovation, new products, channel development, and investment in building the e commerce channel, ensuring A.O. Smith grew ahead of the industry at all times. A.O. Smith was also conferred with a Great Place to Work in 21, and he was acknowledged as amongst India's top 25 leaders during times of crisis by the Great Place to Work organization for small and medium businesses. Mr. Parag has also been recognized as 100 most trusted CEOs of India. Prior to A.O. Smith, he led Wipro's furniture business, which he founded in 2004, and the commercial lighting business. A keen marathoner, a wildlife photographer, a blogger, he is a champion of green with strong focus on sustainability. Please join us. Welcome Mr. Parag Kulkarni.
Very good afternoon, everyone. Nice to have you all over here, and I'm also equally feeling privileged to address this elite gathering. Tough times to start somewhere around 1 o'clock when the stomach starts sending the signal to the brain that it is time to go for lunch. But I would always say that it's better to start pre-lunch than post-lunch. So in that sense, at least I am lucky that I am doing the session before lunch, and after that, of course, I can relax when others are taking the more difficult time. Yeah. So let me just, not keep you away from your lunch for too long, and take us, through what is happening and what has changed in the last 2 years and how things stand going ahead. So I think we have all seen this enough that we all need to change before you have to. And I guess the last 2 years or so have been absolutely, I think it has been a discovery, and it has told us that this applies really truly for every one of us, because what has happened in the past 2 years was never anticipated. To step out of your house if you have to think twice, to open a door to someone if you have to think 10 times, to even go out and take your breath freely without a mask covering you, or even to go out without fear, if one had to think about it, I guess I don't think we ever had anticipated anything like this. The world has seen many challenges, wars, etc. But something like this cutting across the world, I think it has opened our eyes. So what it has done is that it has told us what is known to us all, that change is the only constant, and we have to be ready to change before something else forces us to change. Yeah. And I guess most of us are thankful that we are here today through these tough times and kicking over here. Yeah. So we are really happy about it. So let's start with what won't change for us. What won't change? Customer centricity won't change. For any business, focus on customer is absolutely critical, and that won't change. Anything can change, everything can change around us, but really our focus on reaching to that person who is the reason for which we are in business would not change, and that will get even more pronounced as we go ahead. So what will change is the sensitivity and dynamics of establishing lasting bonds with the consumers. Absolutely. And when I say that, I guess the consumer has had an experience. We are all consumers ultimately, right? We are not just custodians of our business. We are all consumers for various things which are reaching out to us, which are sold to us, which we want to live our lives. So, what has changed for us really? So, if I look at it as a consumer myself and look around, what has changed? I mean, the dynamics have changed and various things have changed. So, I heard when I walked in uh, something which a particular speaker was talking about, that most of us are selfish and will stay selfish. So there are various perspectives, and I'm not challenging any of those thoughts because there is research going behind it to tell. But personally, I feel that most of us have come out of this phase less selfish. We are more focused on the benefit and the future of the world, of people around us, of people who touch us, and those who don't touch us also. Because in some way or the other, everyone touches us. So the dynamics is for any company, any business, any brand, I guess you have to understand that the consumer today is a different consumer having faced harsh reality of survival. I think the consumer has started developing a feeling for a larger world, a larger planet, things like sustainability, things like will he leave or will she leave behind a world a better place, or will he or she actually contribute towards the deterioration of this place? These thoughts cross people's mind. When you were all closeted in your houses, fearing whether tomorrow you are going to be there, whether your near and dear ones are going to be there, and how long this thing will last, I guess all these thoughts crossed every consumer's mind. A lot of people lost very close people. A lot of people were not able to come down from their locations to the other location when their near and dear ones lost their lives, or were in difficulties and in hospitals, or some of them struggled to get hospital beds also. Various thoughts crossed your mind. What is life? What does it stand for? Am I here alone? I mean, what happens if something happens to me? And all of that has brought in a major shift in the consumer psyche. The sensitivity of every consumer was heightened. And I guess that is what is going to be very important for businesses and brands to consider as they try to reach out and appeal to that consumer who is a very evolved consumer. I hope everyone agrees that these years were absolutely changing years in terms of your own thought process. So, what happens? What is a mandate for businesses and brands? I think it is very simple: to be a solution provider. And how do you do that? Is by being observant, being empathetic, relevant, and agile. Yeah. Uh, I like to give some examples over here in terms of what all happens or happened around, and how various things touch you, and how the brands have got impacted. So just to draw on some experiences, and that is what when the consumer goes through this particular experience, what happens? So just to give you an example, uh, for almost 2 years, most of us, or at least a year, lived without house helps. We started doing things ourselves, and then things opened up, and I guess societies and condominiums opened up, and there were house helps which were allowed inside. For a lot of time, what was taken as granted, and I guess the need was not felt to be really nice to the house helps, has had changed, and suddenly you started having a value for what happens when someone comes in. So here is an example which I thought I must share over here. And why am I sharing this is because there are various experiences which touch all kinds of us. And then our these experiences drive how various ways we look at things in terms of businesses and brands. So as a family, we invested in a new house which was ready during the pandemic, and that house got ready, and our children moved in that house because we decided, and that was not very far from our place, that, I mean, let us split ourselves and live differently. Because if something happens, because suddenly there is a lockdown and you can't come and do ABCDE, if all of us are in the same house and you are all locked up, who will take care of each other? So all those kind of things. So our son stayed in the new house, which was not very far from our place, just 5 minutes walking, and we were in this place. So that society is new. So obviously new rules and regulations came up, and about few months back, our house help got paid by my wife for her salary, and she was stepping out of that condominium, and the security frisked her and found that she had some 4,000 rupees cash in her bag. And then she was questioned as to which house you are coming from, how did you get so much of money, ABCD. And then she came home and she told us, and we were surprised as to why someone is asking this question and why is she getting frisked. To which, in a WhatsApp group of the society, my wife put up what happened. So someone came and, I mean, replied from the committee that, I mean, we have a new rule that person coming inside the society should not carry much cash, maybe only 500 rupees. While going back, the thing will be checked, and if you have more cash, that means your house could be robbed or someone could have done a theft, and that's not advisable, ABCDE. And then my wife communicated, but I paid her salary, so you pay through Google Pay. But she doesn't have a Google Pay, she wants cash, she is someone who needs that money badly. So likewise, the discussion was going, and I was in my office. I'm not generally part of these WhatsApp discussions, but I saw my wife's name coming again and again. So I looked at it and I saw that what was happening. So then I thought I must jump in, and I presented the case saying, I mean, if you basically, trust is the essence of all relationships. If you do not trust someone working in your house, please don't employ. If you employ, trust that that person will not rob you. And in any case, someone who is economically lower than you, how can you suddenly say that you distrust that person and are putting a condition that that person will be frisked? That's just not acceptable, I said. And that discussion really went, and people came very hard. And I gave an example that just few days back, there was a coconut vendor over there. I used to go to the gym and come back, and used to have coconut water. It was only my second time with him. He hardly knew me, and I had coconut water. I was obviously not carrying any money on me. I had my phone. The phone is what you can use for paying anyone. And that day, unfortunately, my phone pay did not work, and I had already consumed the coconut, and I had to pay him 40 bucks. And I looked sheepishly at him after finishing, and it was not going through. He just smiled at me, that poor guy, and he says, "It's okay, sir. I mean, next time maybe." And he didn't know whether next time I will be there or not, but he trusted me, and economically not at my level, but he still trusted me and let me go. And I gave that example over there, saying, please, can you tell me, I mean, what are you doing? And second, even the security of a building may not want to do a frisking job like this. They are not enjoying it. And how are you forcing something like this? So anyway, that rule was scrapped. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that in general, when we brought up this discussion on a social platform, there was a lot of, I mean, pushback saying, yes, you are right, we will not want to do this is not appropriate, ABCDE. People from UK, USA, etc., who were also holding houses over there, they also contributed. So when you get an experience like this as a consumer, and you move ahead, and then you interact with a business and a brand, and that business and brand is not, I mean, as sensitive as what you have as a consumer become now, I guess you are in trouble. So what I'm trying to say is that today you need to be observant, you need to be empathetic, you need to be relevant, because lots has changed, and it's not just about what product you are manufacturing and what product you are giving which is relevant going ahead. So that's what brought me to this, I mean, issue which I just talked about, experience of what a consumer goes through. So the consumer is today not looking at just a product, the consumer looks at a solution. I mean, it's not interested in a product. The consumer looks at you and engages with you thinking that you will provide a solution for his or her problem, and that's what is important. And for a consumer, social media and e-commerce is really critical for, I mean, engaging and, I mean, having the experience. So as the pandemic hit, we really saw that physical retail was out because you could not step in, and there was a lot of regulations around how many people you could have inside. People were themselves afraid, not wanting to step in and touch people minimum distance away. So really we saw a huge surge in e-commerce, to the level that possibly e-commerce got uh, preponed by 3-4 years to the levels which would have been there 3-4 years from now. So that's what happened. Also, a lot of buying started happening on a social platform also. So I'm being an Instagrammer, I have also seen and bought from Instagram various things. So that was the thing which brought about a change. But essentially, a human being is a social animal and also wants to have a physical contact and interaction which happens. So a physical touch and feel is very critical, and the hybrid journey is the need of the hour. So if I look at the last quarter where things have been little more easier, really speaking, physical retail is at 100 to 200% above same time last year. So that's the jump. So e-commerce has of course jumped and moved ahead significantly, still growing in high double digits, but physical retail has really made its comeback again. So people are getting back into the habits, but also wanting to do e-commerce and a physical retail combination. So as a company, as a business, as a brand, you are really interested in seeing the basically picking up nuances and underlying needs of consumers to address and understand. And how do you do that is by really engaging on various forums where the consumers are, and consumers are all over the place. They are on various social media platforms, they are in chai points, they are in Starbucks. So you may be a consumer durable, like we are a consumer durable company, but our potential consumers are all over the place. So you need to be hanging around trying to understand behaviors, what is it that is the essential issue that the consumers are wanting to address, and picking up those nuances and building it into the products, and not just the product but overall what solutions you need to provide. So just to give you an example, we are a water purifier company as well. Now, water purifiers in India largely are, I mean, wall-mounted water purifiers, unlike internationally where you have under the sink. But under the sink or in the kitchen cabinet below the sink, that business is growing significantly because as India is urbanizing, a lot of people are open for having a purifier below. Essentially, a lot of people don't want it because they feel that there could be cockroaches over there and all those issues one must understand, and that's what keeps people from using an under the counter product. But that trend has changed and a lot of things is moving ahead. But there are smaller nuances. It's like uh, if I have to give an example of Mumbai, so you have a purifier. Mumbai has kitchens which are much more tighter and smaller. So the Mumbai household not just wants a purifier which is good looking, but also wants a pipe which can bring the water down into a steel container, which from where the water purifier draws the water into the container. Now For a purifier company, the purifier becomes the everything, but not this. But for the Mumbai person, the decision making is, can you give me that pipe which can take the water into that stainless steel container, and I can draw water from there. So really, I mean, it's not about, so for a R&D person, that is a thought which never crosses his mind, but for otherwise the consumer, that's the one which is a more bigger decision making point than anything else. So those are the things that have to be looked at in terms of solutions. So one is really looking at solution providing, and rather not just the product. So what should the brands do? I guess apart from product, service is very, very important, and one has to have very empathetic, proactive and agile service. And it's very important that so when I'm talking about this, the brand is not just what the company communicates on a digital platform or a print platform or a television, and it's not necessarily only the product that you sell. It's your people who are interacting with your consumers. They're in fact your bigger brands. Yeah. So how your service person visiting a customer understands the customer's requirement and treats and needs and engages with the consumer determines how the brand is perceived by the customer. So uh, bringing in and investing in training to heighten the empathy of the consumer, or the service technician to engage with the consumer, is very, very important, and working with them. So essentially we are talking about, when you are interacting with your consumers, you are interacting through various forums, not just digital. Digital is of course a very dominant forum at this moment, and that's where most of the action is. But physical and digital combination is a very strong and a ideal combination. And today, like I mentioned, if I look at last 5-6 months data, the physical form of retail is really taking up, and Indians are really hitting the streets. That's where we see, when we move out in Bangalore, I guess there's again enough traffic on the road to take us back to good old times. Not still as good old times as what we were earlier facing. The distances were always measured in terms of hours spent on the road. The hour could be 45 minutes now, but I guess consumers are coming back into the retail and interacting with the channel partners over there and all that. So one has to look at how are consumers engaging and creating a lifetime value creation, being transparent, and creating consumers which are not just consumers but advocates. So one anecdote which comes to my mind, which I thought I must share with the group over here, is during the pandemic, most of us were cut off from each other, and we're really missing interactions. uh, During that period, we had a set of our team members calling up various consumers of ours to understand how and what they are feeling, and what do they feel will be required going ahead, and how are their, or what is their interaction with A.O. Smith products. In good times, we would have had these people in their houses, in their bathrooms and kitchens, because we are a water heater and a water purifier company, and see how the product is being used. But that was not happening at that point of time. So we reached out and spoke over phone to our consumers, and I think we talked to about more than 1,000 consumers of ours. And there was an incidence where a 22-year-old executive of ours got on a call with a 70-year-old customer, and that call went on for, I remember, 1 hour 48 minutes or so. That person over there, was so happy to receive a call from someone, because all of us were living in a heightened state of fear and were totally cut off, that he really started speaking to him, and possibly looking at this guy like his grandson, and engaging in a talk. And they talked on a whole lot of things, and of course a little bit on our product as well. And when you do that, and there are a lot of insights which come, which of course we use it for doing product development, etc. But when you are engaging with your consumers on a very, very personal level and a personal note, then the customer moves from a consumer to an advocate. So uh, I mean, in essence, how do you get a consumer to become an advocate is very important, and I think organizations have to bring in a lot of focus and training on that front to do that, because today a lot of buying on marketplaces and all happens because of reviews and ratings, and that is something which one has to be focused on at all times. So work on that and move the business ahead, and that's how you will be able to get various interactions with the customer. So fundamentally I think that was my last slide, but getting consumer centric, so things have changed outside. E-commerce have really become very central to our lives, but I mean, a physical form of retail is going to be here for interactions, because customers want to see and touch and feel the product and look at and then buy it. So both the channels will always be there, and what is going to be important is how you move from product to a solution provider, and how do you engage with your consumers, how do you understand what is happening essentially in their lives, and what are their real preferences emerging as times are moving ahead, and then the brand becomes a part of their lives. That's what is going to determine the future ahead. So for most of the brands, I guess digital as well as physical form are important in terms of channel, and I'm sure we are back into a situation where physical retail is on a boom at this particular point of time. Digital of course is growing, so it's maturing now, but as we go ahead things will get even more stronger on the digital front. Whatever data comes out, it's telling us that from young affluent millennials who were very focused on e-commerce play, the thing has moved to uh, middle income 45 plus tier 2 tier 3 town, which is really engaging on e-commerce platform. So the e-commerce wave is moving into making inroads into more middle income and middle age people, as well as on tier 2 tier 3 towns. And for the brand it is very important to bring forward a solution based approach, as at the same time also be empathetic towards what touches the consumer, and because the consumer is experiencing the brand not just through the product but through various other interactions which is happening, and you need to be measuring up to that. So with that, thanks a lot, and I'm fine for taking any questions. Yeah, over there in the last.
Yeah, sir, there's a mic there.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for a wonderful session. I'm Yogesh. I'm independent marketing strategist and agency owner. So this is relevant to the brand and solution which you spoke about. So I'm taking two brand specifically Kent and your brand as a A.O.Smith, which is very popular, and you have done a tremendous effort. And if you see, you have solved the problem, which is that drinking water is not a pure and local drinking water cannot be trusted. That's where you have provided the solution. But if you look at the consumer point of view, over the time, the products and your solutions as a water purifier, not as a Kent or not as a RO or a AO, but people have accepted the solutions, and over the time they realize there is a maintenance involved. And right now the trend is going on where people prefer to go for renting water purifier than owning it. So that's the evolution, and just wanted to hear from you about this trend which is coming up, and what are your views and inputs on that.
Yeah, I guess all businesses are, I guess, tuned to emerging trends, and one such trend is on rentals, not just for water purifiers, but a whole lot of equipments, whether it's a television or a refrigerator or furniture. Essentially, I mean, I have a house where one of my sons stays, and that house also has rental model in terms of various things. So essentially that appeals to younger people who are potentially unsure about how long they will be in a particular place, and hence are not willing to commit themselves in terms of buying consumer durables or furniture items or anything. So it's really what we are saying about and what I talked about. It's not about the product, but it's about providing a solution. So for that individual or for that family, which may be saying that, okay, I don't have a window beyond 4 months to see, or 6 months to what can happen to my life and where I will be. So why commit myself with and buy a whole lot of equipments which I don't know what to do after 6 months? Rental is a good model, and I think that model is available, right? So I guess uh, this is what it is. But for a lot of people who are pretty certain about that they are going to be in a X place and not moving around, I guess they do a lot of ROI calculations themselves and feel that having ownership of a product is much more important. So there is a buyer, or there is a need for a particular set of people, and there is another need for another set of people. So I guess both will coexist. Yeah, thank. Over here.
Hi, good afternoon, Parag.
Yeah.
Uh, I have a very serious concern, uh, though I'm not a.
Yeah, yeah, okay, you are talking. Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's not a A.O.Smith product, but it's a Eureka Forbes. But ultimately, being in the same industry, I just want to understand because it has been pinching me, and I thought you were the right person, probably who could answer this question face to face. Uh, I have a water purifier, which is a standalone water purifier, which gives hot water, cold, and normal water. Now, when I bought that product, it costed me 40K, and the annual maintenance of that product is 16,000 rupees, which is almost 40% of the product. So, in 2.5 years, I again land up paying the same cost what I bought, and not just Eureka, but I believe other purifiers also. The maintenance cost compared to the the product cost is much higher. Is there anything that you guys are doing to make it more viable and more customer friendly in terms of pocket?
Yeah, I guess for most of the companies, the first battle is how do you acquire a customer. The second battle is how do you retain a customer. I guess both the things are important, because acquisition is not easy. I think retaining is even more difficult. So what you are telling me is that you have acquired me, but you acquired me through a not a right way, and I am not going to be retained if you don't serve me well. So that's where I am really talking about. So essentially, a product is a physical product. It has a lot of components inside. I can't comment on a particular company or a brand, that's not fair. But largely speaking, the thumb rule is that whatever may be the cost of your product, uh, the consumables in a water purifier uh, could be one fourth or 25% a year cost of that in terms of maintenance, because the heart of a water purifier is a RO membrane, and it's the absolutely critical element for you to be getting pure water. Yeah, and that will get choked because of water quality ABCDE in terms of input, and will get replacement, and there's a cost attached to it, and companies will have to take the cost from the buyer or the customer for doing that. So 4 to 5 years is what would be the basic cost of the product in terms of recovery through AMC or consumables. Over 5 years, that price will get doubled up, because that is what you will end up paying. Why 4 to 5 years? Because by that time I'm assuming a lot more would have happened in technology, and I guess the product can keep doing its job if you keep changing. Typically, I guess uh, people like my generation, when we got in uh, and started using a purifier, maybe a purifier would be on the wall for 10 years or so. Not sure whether that did the job, but I think mentally giving a comfort that it is doing the job. But I guess water quality 10 years back and 20 years back was different. Yeah, I remember as a kid when I used to travel, and I was born and brought up in Jabalpur, and I used to go on a vacation to Bombay, uh, and we used to fill water at a railway station. How many of us can even take a chance like that today? Nobody can do that. Yeah, so I guess at the heart of everything is safety, and hence a water purifier becomes important. So there is obviously a consumable cost, but not very high. It's about 20-25%, so 4 to 5 years.
My concern was only the 40%. I mean, I am happy to, anything you use, printer, you use water purifier, everything has a consumable and you have to pay for it. But uh, compared to the product cost, 40% was really very, very
It
high.
seems high. I think reach out to the right person in the company. Maybe something is amiss over there, in my opinion.
I don't know. I have spoken on this directly to Margin about
Oh, you have
this, and
spoken to
then
Margin. Yeah.
they did give me on particular, AMC when I it came to my knowledge. Thanks to COVID, I was home, so I raised this. So I got a very decent amount of rebate. But how many people have an access to
Yeah.
get this discount? So I am talking as a consumer, not as someone whom I can reach anybody about.
Right.
So that's the concern.
Right. Understand. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Thanks for this great session. Just a small question, sir. You have covered all the topics of brand attributes that has to one a brand has to suffice to a customer. To convert a customer into a consumer is very important. But the challenges for a brand like you is the different touch points in the marketplace. Like there are organized sector retailers like Reliance Digital or any electronic chain, and there is one unorganized sector which is a local market, and the other one is the online presence. So how your strategies or the brand strategies changes for each of this marketplace, because uh, we all know that it's a very price sensitive market when it's the Indian consumer. So if I get 500 less at some marketplace, I tend to go to that, irrespective of I don't consider maybe other challenges like what will be my transportation cost when I'm getting it from a organized sector, unorganized sector, or digital. So how the strategy or the proposition of a brand changes when it's being targeted to each different marketplace? Could you just throw some light on that?
Right. So when you say unorganized, I'm saying it's a mom and pop store. When you say organized, I'm saying it's a Reliance, Chroma, Adishwar, Pi, etc.,
True.
etc. Yeah. And then you have the e-commerce platform. So these are broadly the
Exactly.
models. Yeah. Uh, Largely, I mean, if I'm in a water heater industry, um, I guess the mom and pop store has a larger sale, significantly larger sale, because the product uh, is not a high engaging product for the buyer. Yeah, less engagement. But a water purifier is a high engagement product, and hence at the point of purchase or point of sale, if there is an interaction with the buyer, it helps the buyer buy a right product. Or for a premium brand like us, it helps big time if the buyer engages at a point of purchase or the point of sale. And for that, uh, in the large format retail, organized retail, that is where A.O.Smith is also very strong. We have promoters. Every brand has a promoter. The promoters are well trained, and they will take you through all the nuances of the product, understand the consumer, and give the right solution. So what we are talking about is not selling a product, provide the right solution, because there are multiple solutions available. So for a brand like A.O.Smith, the success rate in organized retail is potentially the highest. Yeah. Uh, on a mom and pop store, I think our effort is really to engage and train the shopkeeper to really understand this and help him convince the customer. There is success and there is not enough success, because for him, when a consumer walks in with a already preferred thought process of a brand, he wants to make a immediate sale, so that the consumer does not get confused and walk away to the next store and look for an option. So he says, if this guy is coming with X brand and X model already well researched, let me close the deal and get off. For a company like ours who is still newer in this segment, I think our battles are far more than other brands which are more established over there. On e-commerce, so how do we reach out to all consumers today to educate? Through digital platforms. So we have a lot of material which goes out, which engages on various platforms. So today digital gives you an opportunity to really demographically, economically, geographically get to that consumer set and give them the information. As long as you know that this is the set that you want to address and educate them, then they can take a chance whether they go to a marketplace or they go to an organized platform or they go to a mom and pop store. So that's what the marketing challenges all the time are. Does that answer?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. We're
Yeah.
just a little delayed. So, if there are any more questions,
I thought
could
he
people
had
ask
raised a
you
hand.
offline? Sir?
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Thanks. Yes.
It's on a different. Can I ask a question?
If you ask a question, it will benefit the audience.
No.
She is saying.
Yeah. So my question is really, slightly different from what the others have asked. So you're talking about customer retention is the more important or the more bigger challenge for you, right? So today is the world of purpose brands coming in and saying that if you're a purpose brand, the retention is much more higher or the loyalty of the customer is much more higher. So I just want to know, what does A.O. Smith as a brand exist for, and are you able to communicate that purpose identified with the customer values also? And one more question on this again, because you spoke about the point of sale and how you train your people in terms of during the point of sale, talking about the product and other stuff. But what goes in after sale or in service, right? So how do you make sure that the customer experience is actually correlating to what the brand stands for in the after sales also?
Yeah, very detailed discussion will be required on this. I guess so. One is A.O. Smith, for the benefit of all the people in the gathering, is a 148-year-old company. So not many companies in the world which have survived that length of time. One of the reasons why we have been able to do that is, I think, our customer centricity is very, very high. We are very truthful. Everyone is, but we are really, really truthful in what our claims are. We never overclaim anything, and we stand by what we do. So, and on customer centricity, we are extremely high. Just to give you an example, 2 days back only, I was doing a review with, we call it a staff meeting. I am in this company for about 7.5 years now. I have never looked at this particular data. I know we look for, or I look for an index which is a warranty cost, essentially because I want to know that our product quality is really high and we are not really leaking by selling poor quality products, and there is a higher warranty cost. So that's the thing which I look at. But say our operations director brought up a point saying, Parag, in the last 7-8 months, we have given away a lot of free product replacement. Yeah, and that's not good. I said, but our warranty costs have come down significantly, but we have given away a lot of free product replacement. So I remember when I joined the company 7.5 years back, and I had talked to our head of service. I had told him very clearly that all customers, you please trust. Whenever a customer brings to you any problem, resolve the problem. And if the customer gets adamant that this way the problem is not getting resolved, I want a product replacement, make a quick decision and do it. Don't come and ask a team which is comprising of quality, R&D and others, because they will not want it to sit on their desk saying the product quality was bad, the design was faulty, ABCD. That's an internal matter of the company. As far as my consumer is concerned, if he is seriously facing an issue and needs a quick decision in terms of making a call in terms of a product change, because he could have made a decision wrong that he bought a UV purifier in an area where a RO purifier is required, or he could have made a decision wrong saying that 15-liter water heater will give me a good bath, but the conditions over there are cold. The 15-liter will dissipate that water in 4 minutes and he will not get a bath, and he needs a 25-liter. You cannot be saying, please give it to me in writing, you made a wrong decision, then only I will replace. So customer is the king. Please go ahead, make a replacement, because we do not want customers, we want advocates. Yeah, I am telling you, 7.5 years back, when I got a call from a, or maybe 8 years, 7.5, 8 years back, from a search consultant, Parag, there is a job and this company is A.O. Smith. I had not heard the brand. Seriously, I'm being honest with you guys. I had not heard about the brand. Today I walk into most of the forums like here, I guess I am hearing a lot of people know about the brand. It talks about that I think we have been able to make a connect with our consumers. So there are more advocates than consumers. So our battle is how do we become advocates, have more advocates than consumers. So there are many things which go behind creating a brand. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess people need to take lunch. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much,
thank you.
sir. I'll request Mr. Umanath V, our co-founder and editor-in-chief for medianewsforyou.com, to please hand over a souvenir to you.
I'm an advocate myself for A.O.Smith because I've been using this product for more than 11 years in a joint family. While other water heaters survived 6 years, I enjoyed 11 years of quality service, and then I showed my loyalty by replacing with the same brand, same product very recently.
Once again, thanking Mr. Parag Kulkarni. Let's hear it for him, please. I'm sure that was a very interesting conversation.